As Phil mentioned, we are now going to hear from some people involved in 2 or 3 of the Passion to Profit projects. One of these was the P2P Innovation Workshop. This was started in 2019 to bring together a group of 40 future industry leaders, both deer farmers and other rural professionals. The aim was to enhance their skills, including networking and personal development, to help them better manage their own businesses. Now, following on from those 2 workshops, in smaller groups, they went on to choose to work together on 4 mini projects. They were focused on community, industry change, consumer, and stories, perceptions, and values. Today, we're going to hear a little about the Stories, Perceptions, and Values project, and I'm joined now by 2 members of that group, Sarah Howe and Millie Howe. Now, Millie Howe grew up on a deer farm in South Canterbury and now lives on Peel Forest Estate, which is a venison, velvet and trophy stud. Millie works with Balance Agri-Nutrients as a nutrient specialist. The Innovation Group has allowed for her to connect with other like-minded individuals that are passionate about promoting the deer industry. And Sarah Howe is from a mixed farming background in mid-Canterbury and has experience working as an agronomist and now in people management and strategy for Dairy NZ. She was drawn into the Innovation Group because of the aim to build capability in young people in the agri sector. Now, we're going to kick off by asking Millie. Millie, you've been part of this P2P Innovation Group from the outset. How is it going and what have you got out of it so far?
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, I've really enjoyed being part of this group. It's been an awesome opportunity for like-minded people to come together and really chew the fat on things we can do to promote the venison industry and how we can give back to the deer industry. And because the deer industry is a smaller group, it has a real community feel for it. So everyone's really open to sharing ideas. And we've also been very spoiled with presenters that we've had speak to us, like Kira Evans, who was amazing.
Oh, wow. That's a very high-level speaker. Fantastic. And so, as I've mentioned, both Millie and Sarah are part of the Story, Perception and Values project group. Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about this topic and why you felt it needed addressing?
Yeah, sure, Sarah. So we came together on one of the first innovation groups, and we soon found ourselves splintered off into other groups where we thought work needed to be done in the deer industry. And we realised in the group that I became a part of that many New Zealanders probably don't know a lot about the deer or the venison industry. And so with that, we risk being victim to some of the misconceptions about farming that are out there. And these could be to do with environmental footprint, animal welfare, or just why we do what we do. So our mini group realised that our industry didn't appear to have a unified or proactive communication strategy to promote our story and our values to the general New Zealand public. So we thought that this was something that we could put energy into and kickstart.
And Millie, so how does this group plan on kickstarting, as Sarah just said, this communication strategy?
Well, initially, we really needed to identify what is our industry story and values. And we did agree that the New Zealand deer industry really prides itself on being a family farming community that wants to create a sustainable, high-quality protein that has a low environmental footprint, and we really do enjoy what we do. And so we then needed to go ahead and identify a target audience to direct our messaging to. And so we thought uni students would be a good start and they'd be a good pilot, as we see them as quite an influential group. And we believe that so 18 to 35-year-old age range have become more conscious of what they're consuming and where it's from. And so now our group is involved with 2 Lincoln University classes for this semester. We really want to gauge what their current perception is of the venison industry and then leading them with a project on how they think we can better promote our story and values. And we want them to really challenge themselves and think about what they, as young people, value, how they receive this information and what they're influenced by. And then they'll present back to us after the semester, and that will be our next form to plant the next steps of our communication plan.
I'm very happy to hear that you're finally focusing on the future of our consumer and our current consumer, even younger than the millennials at university now. Now, of course, a base of some of the Lincoln University will have had some background knowledge already. Sarah, what kind of ideas do you think they'll come back to you with? Is there any sort of early indication?
Well, we're pretty open to any ideas that they come back to us with. We want to remain really open-minded about it. But we're expecting that we are going to learn something from them about how we could connect the dairy industry's strong environmental values and the health benefits of venison products with young people's drive for a healthier and more sustainable lifestyle. We know that successfully communicating our story and values to young people and getting their attention in the first place is going to be the big challenge because there's already so much noise and so much messaging out there that it's pretty hard to get airtime. So this is a challenge that we're particularly interested in hearing feedback from young people about, is how we can really grab their attention and let our messages be heard.
Now, Millie, as a nutrient specialist for Balance Agri Nutrients, in your day-to-day job, what are some of those key messages around what we feed our deer and going into the health of the end product that we can communicate out in the story?
I see day-to-day deer farmers, and they are all so passionate about what they do, and they really believe in their products, and I think that's really awesome. So I think we need to get that messaging out there. It is a sustainable product, and the animal welfare is really second to none with the dairy industry. It's their pride and joy.
And Sarah, in your role with Dairy NZ to come to Dare NZ P2P program, what are some of the learnings that you've had in your role that you can bring across in the thinking in this workshop environment?
It's been really neat to be a part of the DINS initiative. I have to say that I'm envious with how small the dairy industry is and how agile they can be in bringing together a group of, future leaders in the dairy industry. Obviously, with the scale of the dairy industry, it's much harder to do so. And although we have different resourcing, it's been really cool to see, some of the real tangible outcomes that have, come from getting a small group of people together and actually kickstart some initiatives that are going to drive change sooner than later. It's been really refreshing for me to see both sides, and I've learned a lot.
Just got a couple of last questions to both of you. Millie, diversity of thinking. Do you think as an industry we're starting to get there and having a wide range of views across pan-sector groups at the table around one key issue?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think with this innovation group that we've got going, we've got people on farm every day, and we've got industry leaders, which has been really cool. You bring so many different perspectives in. And I think that really drives that diversity and hopefully brings some awesome ideas to really promote our industry.
And Sarah, with that diversity of thinking and workshopping, are we bringing enough outside thinking from outside into our industry, do you believe, when it comes to marketing and communications?
I think it's something that we need to challenge ourselves more with. And that was why it was really valuable getting in guest speakers like Kerry Evans to really disrupt our way of thinking, because it is quite easy to find ourselves in an echo chamber in the ag industry with how we're going to pull ourselves out of some of the challenging spots that we find ourselves in. So I think we are getting better, Sarah, but I think there's still much more sharing of ideas and borrowing of ideas that we can do yet.
And lastly, my question is actually aligned to something I got up and spoke about at a deer industry conference in the past, where a gentleman challenged the DINS board to do more around perception. And I said, well, until you invest in PR as an industry, then you won't see a cent go any further than that. It's all well and great having some fantastic ideas. We see that in politics. We see that in a lot of visions for our sector. But was there any discussions in this workshopping of how it would be funded to see it out?
To be honest, the funding, our purpose of this innovation group is to basically map out what might be impactful, and then it would be much further down the road that we look at funding any such strategy. So it hasn't been talked about as yet, but it is something that will be on the table for discussion in the coming months and years.
Fantastic. If there's anyone listening, Millie, who's keen to be part of the innovation group and your projects going forward, what can they do to get in touch?
Yeah, we're definitely very open to anyone coming, any ideas, anything. It's going to be ever going project, I reckon. So any new ideas, definitely jump on board. Main contact would be Rob Aloy. He's awesome. You'll see his contacts come up at some stage during this conference. He'd be your main point of contact.
Thank you so much, ladies, for taking the time to join us. And a notable point, Sarah and Millie are sister-in-laws, if you're wondering, not sisters. Sarah Howe and Millie Howe, they're part of the P2P innovation group around story, perception and values. Wonderful work going on there as part of the Passion to Profit.